This man is not simply a serene old man. He is, above all, a yogi, a very great yogi, Lopon Sonam Zangpo. There are only 3 young people who, having successfully passed all the severe tests imposed on them, have been chosen to become disciples and allowed to receive their initiation from him. Initiation, in other words, the beginning, admission to the path, who brings into the world a world that is not of this world. It is out of time, blessed, limitless, made of stillness that is more active than any movement, made of silence that is more vibrant than any words. And, according to Tantrism, nothing, absolutely nothing, must be refused, denied, or repressed. Everything must be accepted, integrated, and transformed, like nature changes coal into diamonds, like the alchemists speak of changing lead into gold. As secret as the science of yoga is kept, however heroic the yogi's asceticism, as extraordinary and even miraculous as the results may be, these yogis are sages who stay in perfect harmony with what ordinary everyday life entails for every man. These 2 yogis, one from Ladakh and one from Bhutan, whose vision is beyond the veil of appearances, know above all things that they are one. They are playing their part perfectly, spontaneously, freely. They are completely aware of the present moment and are overflowing with serenity, joy, kindness, and compassion. For they are free from any trace of the past, whether conscious or subconscious, and they are also free from the slightest preoccupation with the future. This magnificent dorje that is carefully protected in an antique silk drape has been held in Milarepa's own hands, the founder of the order of yogis. This is why it is handled with such respect and brought up to the forehead as a sign of veneration. This dorje is the emblem of supreme power, power which, for Tibetan sages, is always related to compassion. Not love that is founded on emotional impulse, capable of becoming its opposite and giving birth to selfishness, jealousy, hatred and despair. No, love that takes root in the realization of the unity of all beings. Having died completely the death of his own egoism and of the belief in his individuality separate from others, the yogi can say, "Because I no longer am, I am everybody, I am everything." To those who, and the ascetic rises to the plane of meditation without form, to the perception of emptiness, or shunyata, which is the key to Tibetan Buddhism. In India, amongst the refugees, as in Tibet itself around the big monasteries, small cells have been built, where a monk can go on retreat and live as a hermit for days, weeks, months, and sometimes even years. During this time, he sees no one and receives his food through a hatch. The monks meditate in these tiny cabins. Today, they have allowed us a glimpse of their world, a world of peace and inner vision. Some are still beginners, while others are advanced initiates. But all of them aspire to the same realization, that of becoming Buddhas themselves, not only for their own emancipation, but for the welfare of all beings.
Lives a group of Buddhist monks They have a reputation of being able to perform remarkable physical feats. It's said they can stay alive easily in freezing cold temperatures that would kill most people, and that just being with them is an extraordinary experience. For keeping themselves to themselves. Very few travelers from the West ever got close to them. Rumors abounded about the supposedly supernatural powers these monks possessed. Even now, when they're more accessible, those who visit them are impressed.
They are capable of very extraordinary states of mind, and being with them is a very strange experience. I mean, one is aware that one is not in the company of a person with sort of communal garden reflexes.
Dr. John Crook is a social anthropologist who lives in the West Country of England. He's made several trips to the Tibetan monks in order to study their way of life. They're known to practice various kinds of meditation. In one of them, known as Tummo, they produce high levels of heat in their bodies, so much so that they can dry wet sheets. In a room that's not far above freezing, they first soak the sheets in ice-cold water. Then, wrapping them round their bodies, they start to meditate. Gradually, the sheets start to steam as the heat from the monks' bodies dries them out. To do this, the monks visualize a series of tubes running through their bodies with an imaginary fire deep inside them.
You imagine the flame like a sort of Bunsen burner in the belly. And as you practice the breathing exercise, so that flame comes up through all these channels and tubes and through the centers, clears them all, and finally it comes out as a flame from one's forehead. Now, the effect of doing this, and of course this requires a lot of practice, eventually is to produce a form of heat flush. The body becomes warm.
If true, this is remarkable, because it means the monks have learned how to take over the temperature control mechanisms of their bodies. But exactly what they're doing, they prefer to keep secret.
Without supervision.
News of these monks' remarkable abilities reached Western scientists studying the effects of meditation.
That's it.
Visit them and filmed the trip.
We sent a team to Dharamsala in northern India. We studied the monks by measuring their skin temperature before, during, and after the practice of Tummo. And there was a marked increase in skin temperature when they practiced Tummo, upwards of 16 to 17 degrees Fahrenheit in their fingers and toes, even though the external environment was 59, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So at a time when finger and toe temperature should be decreasing to conserve heat, it was actually increasing.
But there's something else that goes on in these mountains, which is very difficult to explain.
On the evening in February, which they consider the coldest of the year, which is the full moon, they left a monastery which was up around, 16, 17,000 feet, walked up another 1,000 feet or so to a mountainlet.
Once a year, the monks sleep out in the snow, in conditions that would kill most of us. It requires much more than the ability to dry wet sheets. And what's remarkable is that the monks don't even shiver.
One of the major ways to produce heat in the body is shivering, because the muscles are really the furnaces, the skeletal muscles are really the furnaces of the body. They generate heat. So therefore, shivering is a vital way to stay alive. Well, these monks not only did not shiver, but they were able to stay alive all night that way. Morning came, a light snow had fallen. They simply stood up, took off their blankets, or not blankets, but really just sort of light cloths, naked, just with, again, a loincloth, shook them off and walked down the mountain, no shivering. Whereas the film crew and others were bundled in rags and in down just to stay alive.
To survive extreme conditions is extraordinary. Dr. Benson believes they're in some way controlling their metabolism in order to generate enough heat to stay alive. Amongst to America's going on here, it's remarkable. Under these circumstances, most of us would die from hypothermia within a few hours.
There's a straightforward practical thing about this, that we're talking about monks who are meditating at over 12,000 feet in winter in Tibet. And to be able to keep warm without the expense of having fires is, of course, very important and get through the night.
But whatever their technique may be, they say it's not supernatural.
In their view, it doesn't involve mysticism or supernatural powers. It's just taking the limits of possibility beyond what we normally think of. But there's nothing magical about it. It's just enhancement of our natural abilities.
These monks could be the Olympic athletes of mind control.